Okay. All right. So let's move forward and let's talk about two other systems, if you will. One is known as the vertical marketing system. The other one is known as the horizontal marketing system. So till now, I think probably from my discussion of distribution in general, and my discussion basically related to, let's say, wholesaling, retailing, this channel thing, the width of a channel within each level, and then the length of a channel when you go up and down. We talked about the wholesaler, retailer. All these discussions might have given at least some of you the impression that, well, this is a very competitive world. That is, over here, the producer, the wholesaler, and the retailer, they're all kind of competing with each other to maximize their own bottom line, if you will. That is, maximize their profit. And sometimes that happens. But the interesting thing is, or the nice thing is that, oftentimes they kind of get together, the manufacturer, the wholesaler, the retailer, and they say, hey, why don't we work together so we benefit as a group, as opposed to sort of competing against each other, wasting our resources. And yeah, one might come out ahead compared to the others, but then maybe that coming out ahead is not going to be far enough ahead. Okay, so if we work together, maybe we all can come out ahead, without kind of going at each other's throats. So what we have is a system initially called the vertical marketing system. It's called the vertical up and down marketing system. So what is a vertical marketing system? Well, this is where channel members are more dependent on one another. And what they do is that they develop a long-term relationship in order to improve efficiency and effectiveness. So there is a connection, there's some connectivity amongst the channel members. And it can happen in three different ways, as we will see in the next 3 pages. So one is known as the administered VMS, vertical marketing system, VMS, administered vertical marketing system. And here there is no contract that is signed, and channel members, they're related to each other, but basically, they're related to each other by the channel leader, and we'll talk about it. Then we have the contractual VMS. So if you ask me, can you explain what a contractual vertical marketing system is? I'm going to say, hey, focus on those words. Contractual vertical marketing system. So contractual means what? There's some contract that is being signed between the two parties. So there is a legal connection between the two parties. And then we have the corporate vertical marketing system. So you focus on the word corporate, and essentially, in this case, they're all related to the channel members, are related to each other through ownership. It's one corporation that owns the various members of the channel. So ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward now that you understand the basic concept of vertical marketing system. Let's move forward and let's look at administered vertical marketing system, where the relationship is not contractual. There are no legal binding forces over there, but they're related to each other by the leader. That is, the big guy in the channel of distribution decides what happens when, where, and those kinds of things. Okay, so I've said all these things to you because I cannot click and bring these things one at a time, and I'm showing you the whole slide, so at least you'll have some idea of what we are talking about. So the first thing we're talking about is administered VMS, and this is essentially a system where they're dependent highly on close relationship. What happens in the channel depends on close relationships between channel members. So as you can see, they're related to each other by the channel leader. So the moment I convert these files to show on Blackboard, this is what happens. Okay, they're related to each other by the channel leader. So the channel leader can be, for example, a retailer like Target, that's a big name, or a retailer like Best Buy. So they are big, they have enough power in them to dictate terms. So Best Buy, for example, can dictate terms to the manufacturers. At one time, they actually told Hewlett-Packard to essentially produce computers, laptops with certain configurations only for Best Buy stores. Likewise, there will be these huge mattress stores, chain stores, that will tell Sealy and Serta, the mattress producers, to produce mattresses that are exclusively sold through these stores. What happens as a result of this, and we will talk about this in pricing, is that whenever it's kind of, an exclusive product that's being sold, and it doesn't have to be an expensive product, it's an exclusive product that's being sold through your store, they'll oftentimes give you a price matching guarantee, or they'll give you a low price guarantee, but you will not find those products anyplace else. So the question of matching prices, the question doesn't even exist. Lowest price, well, if they're the only ones selling the product, that is the lowest price. So it has implications for other decisions that we make in marketing. Anyways, so we have retailers that are big, like Target and Best Buy. We have manufacturers that are big, like Procter and Gamble. And in Procter and Gamble, I think we saw that product mix, what they produce. I mean, it's kind of dated, but it's a huge company, huge company making a lot of stuff. And so they can dictate terms in terms of what happens in the channel of distribution. Another good example is, Anisa asked me about Amazon. If we consider Amazon to be sort of the retailer, if you will, online retailer, it has tremendous power over the manufacturers. Tremendous power of the manufacturers in terms of, or the distributors in terms of, what can be sold, quality control, types of products, dimensions, etc., etc., etc. And then we have in the middle this company called McKesson Corporation. You haven't heard of this. Most people in this country haven't heard of this. But essentially, if you know what it is if you look over here, it says empowering healthcare. So this is a drug wholesaler, pharmaceutical products. Well, this is a pharmacy class, maybe you guys know. And I believe this is based in San Francisco. And I think more than 50% of the independent pharmacies in the US actually are somehow connected with McKesson Corporation. So they are the ones basically that can dictate terms and conditions within the channel of distribution. That is how the distribution channel should be working. So let me stop here. Let me let you ask questions about administered VMS, and then we'll move forward and talk about contractual VMS. Wow. I can hear the silence. So is it clear, or is it totally kind of so convoluted that you don't even know how to ask a question? Convoluted on my part.
Convoluted.
Dare you ask?
Yeah, it's so convoluted. It's coming all as one, and it's so difficult.
Okay, so what is convoluted?
Yeah, I'll start from the vertical marketing system. If I got you right, I know you were talking about some people in the market, some stratas of the marketing distribution having control over the other segment of the market.
Okay,
And
so let me explain vertical. Okay, so let me explain the VMS again. Okay, again we'll go back to you, your mother, and your grandmother. You with me?
Right. Yes, sir.
So your grandmother runs the company. She's the owner.
All right.
Your mother is the wholesaler. You're the retailer, and I buy from you guys. From you.
All right, sir.
You with me?
Yes.
So you can have a system where these are independent entities. Your grandma's company, your mother's wholesaling unit, your own retailing unit.
Okay.
And your goal is individually, your grandmother wants to maximize her profits, regardless of what happens to your mother or you. Your mother wants to maximize her profits, regardless of what happens to her mother or you, her son. Okay. You want to maximize profits, regardless of what happens to your mom or your grandmom.
All right.
So if individuals are thinking of maximizing profits, what happens?
Well, the chain of distribution will not be effective.
Yeah, so there'll be infighting. It will not be effective. You'll try to do what's best for you, and in the process, others might suffer. And as a whole, you might, the entire channel might, all the players in the channel might suffer. You with me?
Yes, sir.
Because if your mom says, Dare, you want to make the profit, so I'm going to basically do whatever is best for me, so that you cannot make the profit, I can make the profit. So there's a lot of internal conflict that can happen. I'm not saying it happens.
All right.
But then, the other option, the vertical marketing system. Vertical is your grandma, your mom, you. You get together and say, look, let's sit down and let's kind of brainstorm and let's decide how best to profit as a whole. We all will benefit from the process. What can we do in the channel of distribution so that we all come out ahead as a group, as a team? Okay. Yes, so the administered VMS is a situation where, for example, let's say your grandmother owns a humongous company, manufacturing firm, and your mother's business is small, your business is even smaller. Your grandma can dictate terms that, okay, this is how we're going to work. On the other hand, your grandma owns a small manufacturing unit and your mother is, a huge wholesaler and you're a small retailer. Your mom's going to dictate terms and say, let's work this way so that we all can benefit. And the third option is you, the retailer, you're Amazon. You're like a 1,600-pound gorilla, not the 800-pound one. Okay, you can tell your mom's wholesaling business or your grandma's, manufacturing unit, hey, let's do it this way so that we all benefit. So administered VMS is where things are highly dependent on close relationships between the channel members. No formal contract you're signing with your mom, with your grandma.
Okay. Okay.
So these pictures are examples like Target and Best Buy, the retailers that's Dare. Procter & Gamble, the manufacturer, that's your grandma. And McKesson Corporation, this is a pharmaceutical products wholesaler, that is your mom.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. So if I got it
Yeah.
right, Protector and Gamble, they're like the manufacturer,
Yeah.
and McKesson is the wholesaler. How about
Yeah.
the Target and Best Buy?
I told you 3 times, they're retailers.
The retailers. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See these examples, anytime there's confusion, get on Google and type in Target and it'll kind of jump up at you. Or Best Buy.
All
These
right.
are American stores. Yeah.
All right. Thank you,
Or Canadian. Yeah, Lisa.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I was wondering if this administered VMS can, in this case, can these retailers, as they can impose some terms, can they impose terms like tying contract or something like that? I mean,
What?
similar
Input terms like?
something like tying contract or exclusive dealing contract. Can they impose such terms?
It depends on who's big. If the retailer is big, that's the 1,600-pound gorilla, they can dictate terms, yes.
Okay,
This is
sir.
called power in the channel of distribution. Who has more power?
Okay, so though they are not having any legal binding, still they can impose those type of terms.
Absolutely.
Okay, sir.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like if you look at a joint family, for example, in your part of the world, 3 generations living under one roof. Okay. Maybe your grandmother is dictating terms in the household. There's no legal contract which says I'm going to be dictating terms. I mean, she runs the show. In some households, it's like mom that runs the show. And in some, very small number of households, it's the kids that can run the show. Because, the parents have spoiled the kids. And everything that the kid says, what happens in the house.
Okay,
And
sir,
I keep
thank you.
using this grandmother, mother, and kid because it's, this is the vertical relationship that we're talking about. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. So Sandra, are we good? Are you still
Yes,
confused?
Prof. Thank you. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yes to what? Like yes to confused or yes to good?
No, yes to good. I'm good.
Okay. All right, good. So let's move forward from administered VMS to the next one where we have basically, we are going to be related to each other through legal bindings. Okay. So in this case, we're looking at contractual VMS. Okay. Related to each other by contracts. So Sandra,
Yes, Prof.
you are related to your husband by a contract. That's a legal binding. Correct?
Correct.
But you're related to your mother. Is there a contract that you have signed with your mom or your grandma?
No.
No, you're an adult, you're independent, so you're independent, right? So there's no
Yeah.
financial connection there. Okay, there's no obligation there on paper. But with for example, your husband, there is a contractual relationship.
Okay.
And that's true for everybody who's married. I mean, it's contractual. No matter how much love is in there, it's contractual. Okay, so if the separation has to happen, we have to go to the court, and then the court will say yes. So that's the thing over here, contractual VMS. Except in some cases, these contracts, if you want to end the contracts, there could be an end date, and you don't have to go to the courts. Okay, there's noise going on. Where is this? Can you guys hear the noise? Okay, now it stopped. Okay. Yes, people can hear it. So whoever is, wherever it's happening, so please control that. All right. Again, ladies and gentlemen, the slide is messed up. I hope you have a better looking slide. So contractual VMS, here the entities, the players in the channel of distribution are related to each other. They connect to each other by legal contracts. Now, in some case, essentially, see, this is what is happening over here. We have wholesaler-sponsored chains. That is, the wholesalers are at the center, and the retailers will sign contract with them. Sometimes you have retailer-sponsored co-ops. That is, the retailers actually will basically create a co-op, and essentially the wholesaler will sign a contract with that co-op, or the manufacturer will sign a contract with that co-op. Co-op is cooperative. They operate together. Okay, and I'll talk about those examples. And then we have the franchising system. This is something that I hope I don't have to over-explain. We're talking about, McDonald's, for example, but they changed the name of McDonald's. Do you know that? No, nobody knows. Tamima says yes. So what is the new name? I cannot read. I don't know where this is. 13 new chat messages, and I don't even see those messages. We have to talk. Because after 3-4 messages, they kind of vanish somewhere. I don't even see them. Any idea what the new name is? Arches? No, those are the famous McDonald's arches. But you see, the name is what? McDonald's, right? See, this is the problem when you don't have a face-to-face class. I don't even know whether people are looking at me thinking, no response. McDonald's? If somebody talks a lot, so say yes. So I don't know if you're going to get it, but now it's called McJoe's.
Is that McJoe's?
Yes, see, Nilufer got it. Neely didn't get it. Yeah, so basically Donald Trump, so they changed it to McJoe's, Joe Biden. Just kidding, it hasn't happened. Okay, I'm just making this up. So, that's where it is. Okay, now that I see these, big laughs, let's move forward and let's talk about, what we have over here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have wholesaler sponsored chains. So these are just random examples. So you see this name, let me change the color because I have McJoe's over there. So the super value food wholesalers. So this is a food wholesaler, as you can tell. And this is Fleming based in Oklahoma. So here's that picture. So these are humongous food wholesalers. What happens is that in this country, if you're not Kroger's, if you're not Myers in Michigan and Ohio, for example, if you're not Walmart, okay, if you're a small local grocery store, you will be signing contracts with super value food wholesalers or with Fleming, basically to take advantage of their distribution system, their bulk purchasing powers, so that you can actually compete with the big food retailers of this world. So you sign a contract with Fleming or with super value food wholesalers. Then you have these retailer-sponsored co-ops, cooperatives. So you see, I think in my last class or the class before, we talked about Lowe's and Home Depot, and that's where you find basically all these hardware items, refrigerators and cooktops and all these things, anything and everything that you use inside the house, you use to fix things inside related to your house, you find in places like Home Depot and Lowe's. But you also have smaller hardware stores. See this hardware stores in the US, they're called Ace Hardwares. Just like in your local hardware stores. in let's say in Bangladesh or in Nigeria, for example. Okay, or we have this True Value hardware store. So what they have done is, instead of connecting with a wholesaler, they have banded together and they have formed cooperatives. Okay, in a lot of developing countries, in rural areas, you have these food cooperatives where small producers actually, basically sell to a cooperative, and the cooperative markets their products. Here, the retailers have formed their own cooperative, and now what happens is that the manufacturers basically work with this group of retailers. And now, because it's a group of retailers, they have a stronger purchasing power, negotiating power, so they can actually buy from the manufacturers, or sometimes even from the wholesalers, at a reduced price, because they're buying in bulk, they're buying a lot of products. It's a big entity basically as a cooperative, as opposed to small retailers. Questions on wholesaler sponsored chains and retailer sponsored co-ops?
So after tying a contact between the two retailers, will they change their name, or they kept their name individually?
No, they won't change their name. It's just a contract there. So True Value works as True Value Hardware. Ace Hardware, there's a shop right here, 2 miles from where I live, Ace Hardware. Essentially, it's a co-op. So what they do is they share their own warehousing facilities. They also set up their own distribution network. They kind of put the resources together to advertise together. They buy, for example, from the manufacturers in bulk and put it in the warehouses. So they're, at times performing the functions of a wholesaler, but they're not going through any wholesalers. So they have the power because now they're big together. That's the idea.
Okay, sir, got it.
Somebody had his or her hand up.
Yes, sir. Darius on the line. I was just going to ask that. I think you answered that already. I was going to ask if the retailers have to come together, because you mentioned something like group of retailers, and I was going to ask if they could also still buy from the wholesalers rather than buying directly from the manufacturer.
Say that again. If they buy from?
Saying that, could they still buy, like those group of retailers, could they buy from wholesalers rather than going to the
Yeah,
manufacturer?
they can buy from wholesalers. They can buy from manufacturers, depending on whether they have their logistical functions in place, and basically their storage functions in place. If, for example, they feel that if we come up with our warehouses, okay, and transportation, we're going to actually save money as a group, then they can do that. But do understand that that's a huge, massive investment. And as retailers, they might not have the experience in that domain. So they might say, well, we'll buy from the wholesalers, but because we are going to buy as a group, we have more power over the wholesalers in terms of being able to negotiate better deals. Or we can buy directly from the manufacturer, whatever, anything goes, depending on what are the options there. But they're working together as retailers.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
Okay, so
the other
same goes for
franchising system, sorry?
okay, so I was going to say the same goes for the wholesaler sponsor channel, like the wholesalers come together as well.
No, the wholesaler doesn't, wholesaler, no. See, when they're coming together is right here. You see, this is coming together. Did you see my circle?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Co-ops means cooperatives.
Okay.
Cooperative, operating together.
Yes, sir.
Wholesaler is basically these examples that I gave you. They are independent. The contract
Okay.
comes between, your mom is the wholesaler. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you are the retailer. You sign a contract with the wholesaler.
All right, sir.
Yeah. All right. Finally, we have franchising system, which we will talk about when we get into retailing, which, I hope I can get into retailing today, because we are falling, miserably behind. All right. So McDonald's, we talked about McDonald's, and somebody said maybe from 21st of January, it should be 20th, whatever it is, McJoe's. But, all kidding aside, I just wanted to give you names of other companies that we don't quite think of. Subway, that's a franchising system. How is Pepsi or Coke a franchise? Any idea? Quickly, these bottling plants they have, the bottling plants that they have in various parts of the world, or even in the US, some of them are corporate owned, some of them are actually franchises. Okay, So that's how their franchise system. And then this is a very interesting concept, 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Have you heard of this? Here it is, 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So essentially you call this number, let's say I want to kind of, get rid of stuff from my house. I call them and they'll come and they'll charge by the truckload. They'll come and clean the house out and take all the junk away. And they'll charge me money. And then guess what they do? They will recycle some of it. They'll resell some of it. So they make more money that way. And then rest that they cannot do anything. They'll take it to the junkyard and basically a dumping ground and throw these things away. Okay. Now, who would have thought that this kind of a business would find traction in the marketplace? But supposedly this is a hugely successful business, because over here, when you have junk, you just cannot throw things away anywhere and everywhere, right? The trash people come and they'll pick up basically, service-oriented franchise, absolutely. The trash people come and they pick up trash from in front of your house once a week. Okay, and sometimes they will not pick up, like big stuff like your sofas and love seat, for example, or chairs. So sometimes you have to go the 1-800-junk route. Sometimes they will, but you don't know when it is, and there are other things that they won't do. So this business found traction. Questions? Very good. So let's move forward and let's talk about now. So we have talked about administered VSM. We talked about contractual VSM. Now we'll talk about corporate VSM. So corporate VSM, they're related to each other by ownership. Okay, they're related to each other, the channel members, by ownership. What does it mean? It means single ownership of 2 or more levels of a channel. Single ownership of 2 or more levels of a channel. So any idea what this is? In some countries, it could be
gas station.
Gas station. Like in some countries, it's Esso.
Yes.
Okay. So it's Exxon. It's a gas station, but Exxon has refineries. Exxon has refineries. So refinery is here. They also own gas stations. So single ownership of 2 or more channels of a chain. You with me?
Yes, sir.
The next example I'm going to use is this. See over here, it says community coffee, and then it says community coffee house. Okay. So this is a Louisiana brand of coffee. And we lived in Louisiana for 18 years. So the people of Louisiana, they say they're very proud of their culture, heritage, food, because Cajun food is, wonderful, spicy. So they're also proud of their coffee. And they say, well, if you have consumed Louisiana coffee, you will never like any other coffee, ever. It is so strong. And it, basically is a good brand. It does very well. So what they've done in Louisiana is they have opened coffee shops. That's your house part over here. And in Louisiana, in the southern part of the United States, they compete very well with the Starbucks of this world. So 2 or more levels in a channel. Here we have the manufacturer, basically the processor, community coffee, and now they have their own coffee houses, that is coffee shops. So that's the idea of corporate VMS. Any questions? What time is it in Nigeria, Dare?
Right now it's 2:44 p.m.
Okay, in the afternoon. Okay, so and then what time is it in Iran? Where have my Iranian friends gone? 5:14 in the evening. Okay, 5 p.m. Good. And in Bangladesh? I cannot see. It says 6 new chat messages. Somebody say, speak.
Sir, it's 7:44 p.m.
7:44 in the evening. So you guys should be really wide awake. And for me over here, what time is it? It's like 8:44 in the morning. So this is the time of the day when I'm kind of dead. I shouldn't be even speaking coherently. So speak, say something, keep the well. Let's keep the class alive. Okay, let's move forward now. We have talked about vertical marketing system. Could you please explain the franchising system again? No, not now, because I'm going to talk about franchising when I go to retailing. Okay, so that's when I'm going to talk about franchising in details. But when I want, right now, think of a McDonald's. So do you have McDonald's in Nigeria? No. What do you have? What American company do you have in Nigeria?
I don't. I think the most. I think we have KFC. I'm not sure if it's America.
Okay, so you
KFC.
have KFC, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you know anything about, let's say, how far is the nearest KFC from where you live?
It's quite far. Exactly.
Okay, so do you know who owns that KFC?
No, no, I don't.
Okay. It might be owned by KFC. Who knows?
Hmm.
That would be corporate VMS. Or actually, you can, look online and say, hey, if I want to get a KFC franchise in Nigeria, what do I need to do? You have to invest a lot of money. But you could own a KFC franchise, KFC unit in Nigeria, if they're allowing franchisees in Nigeria. So a lot of these stores that you see, they're basically not corporate owned. They're owned by individuals. If I have deep pockets, I can actually apply for a McDonald's franchise store.
Oh, now I understand.
So, but a lot of people are going to, apply McDonald's. It's expensive. You have to have at least a couple of $1 million that you can invest, or maybe more, and then you have to wait in line. So a lot of people go for Subway franchises because relatively it's cheaper and you don't have to wait in line to get a Subway franchise.
Okay.
Okay, so, we'll talk about that later on. All right, where am I? Let's move forward and let's talk about horizontal marketing system. So we talked about vertical marketing system. Now we're talking about horizontal marketing systems. So it's joint venture or strategic alliance of two or more organizations, folks, at the same level within the channel of distribution, with the goals and with objective of accomplishing common goals. Okay, so you have the manufacturer, you have the wholesaler, you have the retailer, and then of course we have the consumer. So when we talk about horizontal marketing system, we are talking about, for example, what is happening at, oops, sorry, geez, what did I do? I don't know. Okay, anyways, this is not good. I clicked outside and then it basically became, okay, no. Gosh, stop sharing. Oh, I so wish I could use Zoom. I mean, this is okay. So what we are talking about is basically, you have the system, you have the manufacturer. Now this will not work. Okay, so we have the, what is going on? Okay, we have the manufacturer, we have the wholesaler, we have the retailer, we have the consumer. So when we talk about horizontal marketing system, we're essentially talking about what's happening within this level. Or we are talking about what's happening, for example, within this level. Okay, so we are not going up and down. Okay, we are going sideways. All right, so joint venture or strategic alliance of two or more organizations at the same level within the channel of distribution with objective of accomplishing common goals. So let me give you some examples. What happens over here? Christmas season is coming. Okay, Christmas season is coming. So a lot of people, I mean, 2020 is a different year, but a lot of people will go to the malls to buy stuff. A lot of people will go online and buy stuff. And so who suffers? Well, the small businesses. All right. And these basically are the sufferers during this period. So what happens in a lot of places in the US, the merchant associations in downtown areas, for example, they will band together, pool their resources together, and they'll start taking out ads where they say, well, why don't you support local business and why don't you shop in your own downtown areas? Okay, so that's an example of horizontal marketing system where all the downtown area retailers kind of band together and they promote downtown businesses. Or it could be, for example, these trade associations promotion efforts. Okay, trade association promotion efforts. I talked about this alligator skin issue in Louisiana. I hope you remember. So essentially, what they do is the association, they advertise Louisiana alligator skins. Okay, and essentially all the retailers, for example, all those merchants that essentially are involved in selling alligator skin to the fashion markets in Italy, for example, they band together, they put their resources, and as a whole, they advertise Louisiana alligator skin, and they compete with basically alligator skins coming from other parts of the world, other states, for example, etc., etc. So that's an example of trade association promotion effort. Or it could be like two or more retailers participating in joint ad or promotion campaigns. Oftentimes in summer over here, all the auto dealerships, those that sell cars, they will join their forces together and they will have these, basically tent sales, joint promotion. Okay. And there's a big hoopla, and then they'll give serve hot dogs and they'll serve soft drinks, and basically they want people to come and buy cars. Likewise, you have oftentimes the local retailers, furniture retailers, they don't have any association, but they're furniture retailers, they get together, they start advertising their sales programs, for example, and basically kind of build up excitement so that people come and shop at local retailers for furniture, for example. Any questions about horizontal marketing systems? Horizontal marketing systems, what's happening at the same level within the channel of distribution? Okay, going once, going twice, done. Can you explain the association example again? Trade association, yeah. So in Louisiana, there are various alligator farms where they raise alligators essentially to kill and then basically, get the alligator skin and sell those skins to the fashion markets, let's say in Italy. So these are independent companies that sell alligator skins. Now, what they have decided to do is they have a trade association, and for most businesses, there are trade associations. So the trade association, the Louisiana Alligator, whatever, Skin Trade Association, I don't know the name, they actually promote Louisiana alligator skins all over the world. They advertise in different places. So where do they get the money from? They get money from these individual companies. So if I'm one of those companies, I am a member of that association, I give them an annual membership fee, and that's the money that they use to promote these products. And that was actually the case that I was involved in, because this is generic advertising. They're advertising Louisiana alligator skin. This one company that I represented, they have been in business for a long time. They have their own brand name. And they are saying, if we contribute money to advertise Louisiana alligator skin, then it'll be difficult for us as a branded product to stand out. We've been in business for a long time. In Italy, they know our name. Then the moment we start promoting only Louisiana, the name Louisiana and Louisiana alligator skin, they will think that our product is the same as the other products coming from Louisiana, which we believe is not the case, and we will suffer in the process. So they wanted to go with branded advertising, specific branded advertising, and these folks wanted to go with generic advertising. So that's more, a longer answer. I didn't have to go into these things, but this is a practical situation that I was involved in. Okay, now Stephen, at a different level of abstraction, somebody in Germany might say that, hold on to your question, if you type it will vanish and I cannot read this, might say, well, this is also branded advertising as in Louisiana brand as opposed to Texas brand. Yeah, at that level, it could be thought of that way, but I, as the big Louisiana manufacturer, I don't want to kind of blend into this Louisiana brand. I want to stand by itself. If I'm Gucci, I want to stand by myself, not as an Italian brand. Okay, Anisa, what was your question? You have to shoot that at me again.
So my question was, as this is a horizontal marketing system, and all these small companies are actually competitor to each other. So
Yeah.
they form this type of associations, and if they run this type of promotions, then how can they conserve their own profits there? I mean, they are
Yeah.
all competing with each other.
Yeah. So we have a term that I haven't used in this class. Instead of compete, we say co-pete. We compete, but we also cooperate. See, one of the things in retailing is that, in this part of the world, for example, where you have, let's say, Indian grocery stores, okay, Indian stores that carry fashion item, and those kinds of things, you will see that these stores kind of concentrate in certain parts of the cities. Okay, what happens is, like, if you go to Houston, there's the Hillcroft area. I mean, Houston is a huge city. When we used to be there 30 years ago, 35, 36 years ago, in the Hillcroft Road area, there'll be all kinds of Indian stores. Okay, from sweet shops to grocery stores to sari shops, etc., etc. And the way it helps is when everybody is sort of located in a certain area, it can draw a much larger crowd, as opposed to when you are spread all over the city. You want to be isolated because you want to compete with others. You might get lucky, you might not get lucky, and people might not travel just for one to that part of the city just for one store. Okay, so if you're all together, you draw a much larger crowd, and as a group you benefit. Some will benefit more, some will benefit less, but as a group you benefit quite a bit. So you have to keep this thing in mind when you're strategizing. It's not a good idea always to be alone.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so that's the thing. Like, for example, where I live, okay, 45 miles from over here, there's this place called Hamtramck. Okay, and over there, you have basically, it used to be a town where you had mainly Polish people. Now the Poles are kind of gone. It's mainly Somalis and Yemenis and mostly Bangladeshis. Okay, so you have all these Bangladeshi stores, and you have names written in Bengali, for example. Okay, and if you go there and you talk to them, it's like, I don't know if you have heard of Jackson Heights in New York City.
Yes, sir.
Which is a place where you have a lot of Bangladeshis. So, when you go there and you talk to them, they tell you, and I'm saying this in Bengali, but they say, Amra etare Jackson Heights banaya felam. Okay, so we're going to make this into Jackson Heights. So, there's a lot of stores there, and people go there because you have so many stores, Bangladeshi stores over there. Now, I live 45 miles away, and I don't go there that regularly to buy small stuff, but we have a Bangladeshi store in town, the one and only. The guy Golam runs it. So I go there, and I buy stuff from there. It's a little pricey compared to Hamtramck, but I don't have to drive 45 miles. That's like 70 some kilometers. So I go there, buy stuff. I get to practice my Bangal with Golam, and it's more benefit than just buying stuff from him. So it's a relationship. We talked about relationship marketing. That's a kind of a relationship that we have. Questions?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
Okay,
Daria,
sir.
you're not asking. Daria, you're not asking any questions. That's kind of scary for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was just going to contribute. I don't know if my contribution is right. So I was going to say, is this a form of leverage selling, whereby different at different levels, it could be a retailer or wholesaler coming together to advertise the program, their products together, just
No,
to.
that would be vertical marketing system if that were to happen. It's
No, no,
horizontal.
no.
It has to be at the same level.
So I'm talking about the same level, like a group of wholesalers or retailers coming together
Yeah,
to.
separately, a group of wholesalers working together, or separately, a group of retailers working together.
Okay, so I'm
Yes.
asking, is it the same as leverage selling, like the leveraging,
What is leverage selling?
almost like they are pulling their resources together to, get customers. Like,
I
let's take
mean,
for example.
if that is what it is, then the answer is yes. But I'm not kind of familiar with that term.
Oh yeah, I'm just coming up with something. I'm not. It's not like a professional thing.
Yeah. So yeah, if that is what it is, I mean, that's a label you're going to use. That's fine, But as long as you understand the concept.
Yeah, because it's possible that a unit out of the retailing, the retailer group, they might not really have as much resources, to personal advertisements or like a kind of advert or something that could, really help them out.
Yeah, I think the idea is though, if you want to bring in the word leverage, fine. It's leveraging basically other people's strengths, or leveraging your strengths at times. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So what else? Is there anybody with their videos on? I don't see anybody. This is really strange. Okay. Anyways, assuming you don't have any other questions, let's move forward and let's look at somewhat boring stuff, wholesaling, and then we'll look at retailing, and then we will move forward. So, what is wholesaling? Basically, we're looking at business activities that involve the sale of goods to anyone but the final buyer. You get me? Sale of goods to anyone but the final buyer. That is the idea of wholesaling. So let us begin by looking at some of the characteristics of wholesaling, characteristics that differentiate wholesaling from, let's say, retailing. So what are these characteristics? Well, number one, when you look at wholesaling, you're essentially looking at larger transactions. We're talking about volume, larger transactions. Obviously, you're buying in humongous bulk and then you're breaking those and selling it to retailers, and then retailers are breaking them even further and selling it to the consumers. You're also looking at, in general, it may not be true all the time, but in general, you're looking at a much larger trading area. When you look at retailers, they usually have trading areas that are very, very localized. All right, so we're not talking about Amazon, for example. That's a whole different kind of, a business model. But when you look at retailers in general, even the Walmarts of this world, it's essentially a localized operation. So much so that we will probably see in retailing that, Walmarts in different parts of the US, for example, even Walmarts in this area of the US, but different parts of the city, their merchandise selection or collection varies depending on the demographics of the population in that area. So it's very, very interesting. Retailing is, just because it's Walmart, it doesn't mean they sell exactly the same thing all over the place, or the same fashion, the same music, the same products all over the place. Okay, we have this thing called, it's like Walmart, has Sam's. It's called Costco, and we have a Costco in our city, near our city, and there's one Costco, let's say 25 miles away. It's amazing to see the difference in the product mix at these two Costcos. Okay, I have friends that live in that area, and they tell me that they find many, many, many more Indian products, for example, in that Costco, as opposed to the Costco that's near our home. So again, but we're talking about retailing, which we will talk about later on. But when it comes to wholesaling, you're dealing with a much, much, much larger trading area. The third point is, and we have to be a little careful about this, is that when it comes to wholesaling, you pay less attention to promotion for sure, and to location to some extent. Okay, location is way, way more important for retailing. It is important for wholesaling, don't get me wrong, but it's not as critical, as fatal as it is in the case of retailing. Okay, so location is very, very, very important. All right, so we have a Subway sandwich shop extremely close to our house, which is the nearest, actually, a place where you can get food. But guess what? I hardly go to that Subway. Usually we say that you go to the nearest place. If it's kind of the same thing, you don't go past that to another subway. But in this case, I don't go to this subway. Any idea why, for example? And we're talking about location. And these are things that you really have to, really have to think about when you're into retailing. Any idea? Yeah, place. I know. Why am I not going? So Fatima, you're saying traffic. What do you mean? Subways are all like, no, I want Fatima to speak. She said traffic. So speak up.
Hello, sir. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, in that place, there are many cars and you have to park your car and there isn't any parkway or something like that.
Okay. So you're thinking, parking is important for retailing,
Yes,
and you're
yes,
absolutely
yes,
right.
exactly, yes.
Now, in this case, though, parking is there. But your point is very well taken. Your point is very valid, because sometimes when you don't have parking, you just don't go to that place.
Okay.
Okay, but in this case, you do have parking. So let me just quickly tell you, because we're running short of time. So thanks, Fatima. So essentially, basically, that intersection is kind of weird. Basically, it's like a cross section, let's say like this, and it's located over here. Okay, and this is where my house is, and I go this way. Okay, and I take a right turn to get into this place. You with me? Once I'm in here, there is restriction on making a left turn. You cannot make a left turn over here. So I have to get out from this exit. Okay? This exit is at such a busy street that here also you cannot make a left turn. You have to make a right turn. Okay? So if I go there and buy, that's not a problem. Coming back is a huge headache. So I have to go out this way and go who knows where, and then take a U-turn or go into a subdivision, come back, and then come home. Okay? I just don't want to go through that problem. Now, this is psychological, Fatima. See, I go to a place which is farther away, and then I come back, and it takes me the same amount of time. But it's the process that you have to go out, come around, and all these things. It's a psychological barrier that I have, and I don't go there. So location is so important. And then it's interesting. They right over here, they had a huge tree. Okay. And I actually went in, I was coming from this direction, this way, and you cannot see this place, the subway. So I was coming down and, you cannot see it. So, once in a while I go, rarely. So I told them, I said, look, as much as I'm against chopping trees, you need to somehow remove this thing because nobody can see you. You're kind of hidden. The location is not good. And actually the tree doesn't exist now. So talking about, listen to your customers. We talked about this before. Listen to your customers, new product idea of changing things. This has something to do with what's outside the store, but they listened to a customer and they made the change. Okay, so anyways, larger transactions, larger trading area, less attention to promotion and location. All right, let's move forward and let's talk about types of wholesaling intermediaries. Okay, again, I'm just throwing everything at you at the same time, so the excitement is gone, because I would have, in my PowerPoint presentation, brought these things in separately anyways. So we will talk about 3 types of wholesaling intermediaries, or in simple language, 3 types of wholesalers. We'll talk about what's known as merchant wholesalers, and these come in 2 stripes. One is the full service merchant wholesalers, and the other is the limited service merchant wholesalers. Okay, then we'll talk about sales branches and offices. And third, we'll talk about agents and brokers. Agents and brokers. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's begin by discussing full service merchant wholesalers, and then we'll talk about limited service merchant wholesalers. So are we ready? Okay, so let's move forward and let's look at full service merchant wholesalers. So let me define what a merchant wholesaler is. These are independently owned firms that take title, and this is in big print, to the merchandise they handle. So if I'm a wholesaler, I buy from the manufacturer, I pay the manufacturer, so I own the products. I own those products. So now it's all up to me. I'm taking the risk. The manufacturer sold me those products. The manufacturer has the money. The manufacturer is fine, no risks. So I have to take risks of storing those products, making sure they're not damaged. I have to, distribute these products to the retailers. So I own those products, and essentially I handle the merchandise. Questions? So why is taking title in big bold print? If you look at the previous slide, we talked about what? We talked about merchant wholesalers, sales branches, and agents and brokers. These are also listed as, at times, considered as a wholesaling intermediary. So what's the difference, you think? Or, yeah, agents and brokers and merchant wholesalers. So merchant wholesalers take title to the merchandise, means they own the merchandise. Agents and brokers do not. Agents and brokers do not. They don't buy the products. They just bring the buyer and the seller together. Okay, we'll talk about them shortly. So let's talk about full service merchant wholesalers. Here is the key thing that you need to understand. They perform all channel functions. They perform all channel functions. Okay? They perform all channel functions. What does it mean? Can somebody help me, please? What are the 3 channel functions we discussed? We didn't discuss it today, we discussed it.
They carry a broad assortment of merchandise.
Yeah, but let's talk about the 3 channel
So
functions.
transactional, logistical.
Logical.
Logistic
Yes.
and facilitating.
Yes, so transactional function, logistical functions, and facilitating functions, all right? So these merchant wholesalers, see, full service, look at the name, full service, they perform all channel functions. They perform transactional functions, they perform logistical functions, they perform facilitating functions. If you're thinking, what are those? I want you to go back to the notes from last time and to look at what these things are. We discussed those things in details. All right, so full service merchant wholesalers come in 4 different stripes. You have the general merchandise wholesalers, the general line wholesalers, specialty wholesalers, and then this strange name, it's called rack jobbers. I'll explain those things one at a time. Then you have the limited service merchant wholesalers. So what does that mean? What's the difference between a full service and a limited service?
They might be having a not performing all channel functions.
Yes. So who's this? Malik Kumar. You're absolutely right. So full service people, they perform all of these 3 functions, right? Transactional, logistical, and facilitating. You with me?
Sir.
Okay. So limited service by definition means they do not perform all channel functions. They might be performing this function, or this function, or this function, or maybe these functions, or maybe these functions, but they do not perform all channel functions. End of story. So who are these people? Who are these entities? Well, they come in 3 stripes. They're called cash and carry types. Then you have these entities called drop shippers or desk jobbers, strange names, and then truck jobbers. So let's talk about these one at a time, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Nobody said yes, so maybe maybe you understand what these are.
Yes.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay. So let's talk about merchant wholesalers. So this is a slide. Do you have this slide? No. Good. Because I don't have anything on this slide. Okay. So we are talking about full service merchant wholesaler. So let's look at what's the first one that we have on the list. Somebody help me with the name. General
merchandise.
General merchandise. Okay, so here is an explanation for general merchandise wholesaler. See this? So general merchandise wholesaler. So what are the products we have? They carry food products. They carry drug products, not the illegal types, the legal types. They carry hardware items. They carry electronic items. They carry cosmetics, and who knows what else they carry. So who are these people? These are entities that stock a wide assortment of unrelated product lines. Wide assortment of unrelated product lines. General. It's in the name, folks. Look here, general merchandise. All kinds of stuff. General merchandise wholesaler. Questions? Do you have this slide? Do you have this slide?
Yes, sir.
Good. So that's general merchandise wholesaler. So if you sort of, look at this, stare at this slide, you cannot forget what general merchandise wholesalers do. And it's again in the name, general merchandise. So all kinds of products. Okay. Stock a wide assortment of unrelated product lines. So which product line they carry in depth? Or tell me this, which product line they have the least amount of depth?
Hardware.
Look at this picture.
Hardware.
Hardware, right? It's hardware, least amount of depth. But then if you look at food, for example, and what was on the right side, cosmetics, okay, that is carried in quite a bit of depth. So just because they carry all kinds of merchandise doesn't mean they carry, them in equal depths. Some are less, some are more. It's all good. Okay. Now that you understand this through pictures, let's move forward from general merchandise wholesaler to general line wholesaler. Line. Okay. General line wholesaler. So here is what it looks like. General line. This is the keyword. General one product line or two product lines wholesaler. So here we have an entity which, with this entity carries one or two product lines, but in tremendous depth. Okay. So essentially, this is a wholesaler which carries food items and drug items or pharmaceutical product items, and in a lot of depth. Okay, so that's the idea of a general line wholesaler. Questions?
Sir, is it resemble to the depth of the product line?
Kind of.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. All right, so let's move forward, and now we are going to look at specialty wholesaler. You with me? Specialty wholesaler. Okay, specialty wholesaler. So now what's happening is that we're now looking at just one line, which is food, and then we're looking at a specific type of food, seafood or health foods. Okay, so they carry one particular part of a product line. Specialty wholesaler, one particular part of a product line. Questions? I guess somebody's typing. Is it the keyboard? Like tap, 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 tap. I can hear. Yeah, you can hear the sound. It is noise. There's no question about it. But what kind of noise? That's the thing. Questions?
A wholesaler can keep two products simultaneously. Right, sir?
Sorry?
In the food section, so we have a seafood and a health food. Can keep both the product at
Yeah. But then if the wholesaler keeps too many of these food products, then the designation changes. I guess it becomes a general line wholesaler. All kinds of food. One or two, good. Yeah. Okay. So somebody says it's not typing; it's some other kind of noise. Okay, maybe. All right. So what's left amongst these wholesalers? We talked about maybe it's a woodpecker. You know, it's interesting you say that. Actually, we have woodpecker problems over here. They'll come and kind of, you know, go like this, and it's very difficult to get rid of these birds. I guess you go out and you know, shoo them away, they come back again, and again you hear the noise. So we talked about full service wholesalers. We are still talking about full service wholesalers, general merchandise wholesaler, general line wholesaler, specialty wholesaler. Next we have rack jobbers. Okay. So rack jobbers, again, folks, look at the name. It says rack jobbers. They furnish racks that display merchandise and they sell on consignment. They sell what's known as on consignment. So if if you're traveling, for example, you go to the local store, 7-Eleven, you'll see these racks, Sandra, over here. Or if you're going to tourist destinations, if you go to Niagara Falls, you'll see these stores and you'll see basically these picture postcards hanging on these racks. Or you go to the grocery store, you have basically these magazines in certain racks. These are all done by rack jobbers that sell on consignment. So the question is, what is selling on consignment? What does it mean? So I know I have these points over here, but let me give you an example and then we'll move forward. Suppose I have some furniture items in my house that are not like old and faded, falling apart. They're pretty good. They might be 3-4 years old, and for some reason I just want to replace them. I can sell them directly to people by advertising on Amazon Marketplace or local, I guess, through local channels, or I can sell them to consignment shops. So I can go to the local furniture consignment shop and I'll tell them, look, I have this sofa set that I want to sell. And, they'll see the pictures and all that, they'll agree. And they'll say, okay, you can sell through us. So the sofa set is placed in that store, let's say in downtown Ann Arbor, and there's a price put on that sofa. So I still own that sofa set. They don't. Okay. And what happens is that, the sofa set is there. And if, for example, Dare comes in and he buys that sofa set, let's say for $400, what will happen is that I will pay this retailer a commission. I'll pay the retailer $100, 25% commission, and I will keep $300. So that's the idea of selling on consignment, okay, as a rack jobber, okay? So it happens in this case, for example, the rack jobber comes in and they stock these racks, and the racks are actually furnished by these individuals or these companies, and they stock these things. They own the product. They have the title to the product, and they basically, the retailer kind of sells them, and then a tally is kept. It's all electronic these days, so they know exactly how many units of what has been sold. And at the end of the day or end of the week, basically, let's say the $100 have been collected at this retail place. So what happens is the retailer keeps 25 and the rack jobber takes home 75. End of story. Questions? Okay, let's move forward. And let's talk about limited service merchant wholesalers. So we have, how many do we have there? We have cash and carry. Then we have drop shippers or desk jobbers. And then, yes, Jayati, 3. And then we have truck jobbers. So let's look at cash and carry. Do you guys have metro in India? Cash and carry?
Yes.
We have in India,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Do you have metro in Nigeria, Bangladesh, Iran, China? So now I cannot see the messages because after 5 or 6, it's like it's showing me the messages are coming, but I have no idea who's saying what. So it's a lot easier if you say yes, no, no. Okay, but now this one is a German company. So Fatima, this is not a US company, so I don't know what the situation is, but there could be reason. This metro cash and carry exists in India. So the idea is cash and carry. It used to be cash and carry. Now it's cash and carry or credit card and carry, whatever it is. So you paid cash and you carried your stuff. They wouldn't finance your purchase. They wouldn't basically deliver you what you purchased. So it's all up to you. So when you go to Sam's, it's a Walmart, enterprise, Sam's wholesale club, they sell to, us, the consumers, but, the first hour in the morning or the first 2 hours, it's only open for businesses. They also send to businesses. So that's more like cash and carry. So you pay with cash or credit card these days, and then you carry the product and you sell your product. So that's the idea. That's the cash and carry wholesaler. Okay. So they don't provide you with basically perform these wholesaling functions. So that's easy to understand. Then you have this concept of drop shipper desk jobbers. And I think you have this picture, you can understand what is going on, for example. Okay. So let me give you an example, and which is not one of these two. You can figure out what these are, but let me give you my example and then we'll move forward. You know what's bad about Florida? Florida? From a weather point of view, any idea? From a weather point of view.
Yeah, hurricanes.
Hurricanes. Okay. So they have a lot of hurricanes. Another one is coming, I guess. Unfortunately, they face that all the time. So there's, if the hurricane it's big, there's a lot of damage and destruction. Okay. And oftentimes, certain neighborhoods, localities, are basically wiped away. The homes, they have to rebuild. You with me? So here,
Yes.
these homes, basically the structure is made out of lumber or wood. Are you okay? Okay. So let's say I'm a desk jobber. What does it mean? I'm doing my job, I'm doing my work by sitting at my desk, as I'm doing right now. Okay. So what happens is that these builders in Florida, they call me up and they say, hey, you know what? We need 100 truckloads of construction lumber. I said, fine, no worries. So I'm based in Detroit, Michigan. They call me up. So from here, sitting at this table, I call up my contacts in, let's say, Oregon and Washington states, these lumber mills. And I say to them, look, please ship 100 truckloads of this type of lumber essentially to these builders in Florida. Okay, so that's the idea of somebody who's a desk jobber. So what happens here is I actually, when I make these orders, I give them the money. So I own those products, those 100 trucks of lumbers. So I take all the risks involved in transporting those products from Oregon all the way to Florida. So I have to buy insurance. I might have to pay shipping costs, etc., etc. Of course, the builders are paying me. I'll take advance payment, and that's all taken care of. My profit is there. But this is how desk jobbers work. So questions, ladies and gentlemen.
So they do not physically handle stock or
No,
deliver it, right?
no. Who's this? Dinesh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No, they don't physically handle stock. But
Okay.
what the difference is, between a desk jobber and an agent is the desk jobber actually buys those trucks of lumbers. So I own them when it's being shipped. So I
All
have
right.
to buy insurance. If a couple of trucks flip on the highway, insurance pays. If I don't have insurance, I'm in deep trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
for that, customer is going to pay to the next number or not?
Sorry, customer, Malik Kumar?
Uh, by that commission. So whether
No,
the
not
customer
commission.
is going to
Basically, you see, let's say 100 truckloads of lumber. Okay,
yes,
costs. Let's say I'm just coming, $100. You with me?
yes, sir.
So that's my price for the customer. Okay, I'm buying these from these lumber mills for 80 bucks. So I give them 80 bucks, which includes basically insurance, shipping, etc. So I keep $20 in my pocket.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, good. So let's move forward and let's talk about truck jobbers. So here's the example. So this is an ice cream company. This is a tools company. So what they have, essentially, these are called rolling warehouses. And they go from one auto repair shop to another auto repair shop, and they sell these tools, or they supply them with tools. Likewise, these are rolling warehouses. They go from one retailer to another retailer from the manufacturer, and they basically sell those ice creams or put those ice creams. Warehouses for trucks, not for trucks. These are warehouses on trucks. Rolling warehouses. I'll give you another example. What's the good news that came out yesterday? Besides McDonald's being renamed as McJoe's. I'm just kidding. Don't believe me on that one. What's the other big news that came out yesterday? You guys have no idea? COVID vaccine. COVID vaccine. Okay, so Pfizer has developed a COVID vaccine. It is, and this is a pharmacy class, and only two of you said COVID vaccine. So I'm going to kill you guys. Okay, so 90% efficient. So I don't quite understand or know what that means, but 90 is better than 50. Just a matter of chance. Okay, and given the situation that we're in, even 50 is good. Okay, but what else do you know about this vaccine? Usually vaccines are kept in the refrigerator, but this vaccine has to be kept really cold, like negative 90 degrees or 94 degrees or something like that, if I'm not making a huge mistake over here. It has to be kept really cold. So they have to be shipped in freezers. So you know what's happening? UPS is buying refrigerated trucks. FedEx is converting a lot of their trucks into refrigerated trucks because it's going to be shipped. It will have to be shipped, otherwise basically it will become unstable. So again, those would be rolling warehouses. And guess where most of this medication right now is stored for Pfizer? Any idea?
Ice cream factories?
No, no, they have their own storage. But where is the location in the world where they have this? Okay, Jayati says minus 70 degrees. Yeah, minus 70, minus 90 at both temperatures, I'm dead. So, they're kind of the same to me, equally cold. So they're actually now, stored, basically just 2 hours drive from where I'm sitting. 2 hours drive west towards Chicago. It's called Kalamazoo, Michigan. That's where the medicine is. Okay. So that's where it is. It'll be distributed. Okay. So that's basically your truck jobbers, and they will become truck jobbers. Yeah, Sandra. So it's close to you, Sandra, too. 3 hours away from you. If they keep you at the border, that could be 4 hours. Questions? Okay, so let's move forward. I guess now it's 9:30. There's no point in taking a break right now because we'll get kind of distracted. So if you have to take a break, just run and do whatever you have to do and come back. I will continue. Dare, yeah, I was wondering where you are.
So
All right. So the truck jobbers, like basically their delivery is done with in a mobile form, right? Is that what it means?
Yeah, of course, truck. That's rolling
Okay, so
warehouses.
that's the major difference. Okay, so I was going to ask about the cash and carry um concept that you talked about. So I think that's quite straightforward. It's almost like paying with your card and then getting products immediately, right?
Yeah. This is basically you go to that the wholesaler and you pay. And it used to be in the old days they wouldn't take credit cards. And I mean,
Okay.
there are some people that still don't take credit cards over here. There's a tailor shop in town that I go to get my pants mainly altered, and it's actually owned by an old lady, and her daughter runs the show, but the old lady is also there, and they just don't believe in credit cards and all these things. It's either a check or cash. So, and I actually told them the other day, think of getting Venmo, where people can just transfer money. Venmo, what is it? So that's kind of a thing. Even I know what Venmo is. So, so it's interesting exchange that I had.
Okay, but then I was going to ask again that the drop shipping method, is it every kind of goods that can be delivered with it, or are there specific um, types of deliveries that can be taken with drop shipping? Because
No, I
usually,
mean it cannot be. I don't think it could be a lot of types of goods. So I don't know if it is good specific.
okay.
In some ways, it could be anything. Any other questions? Okay.
So, are for bulky products, sir?
Sorry?
Are drop shippers are for bulky products?
You can be handling multiple products, or you can decide to specialize. There's no rule that you cannot handle multiple products.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move forward and let's look at two more wholesaling intermediaries. Number one is, in this case, which is actually number two from the original list, manufacturers. It is S possessive, means multiple manufacturers. That's plural. Branches and sales offices. And then the second one, which is number three from the original list, it's brokers and agents. So manufacturers, branches, and sales offices are not independently owned. It's owned by the manufacturer. Merchant wholesalers are independently owned. So branch offices, essentially, look at this. They're alternatives to merchant wholesalers. They carry inventory and perform all wholesaling functions. So carry inventory is the key thing. Sales offices, on the other hand, they only sell. There's no inventory, no delivery. It's delivered from someplace else. The inventory is kept someplace else. Okay, and they are alternatives to agents and brokers. They're alternatives to agents and brokers. So what are agents and brokers? See, I'm not going into the explanation of branch offices and sales offices. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that branch offices are alternative to merchant wholesalers. They carry inventory and perform all functions. The difference, they're not independently owned. Sales offices, on the other hand, these are alternatives to agents and brokers, so we need to know what those are. They only sell, no inventory. See, it's in the name, sales offices, they only sell. Okay, no inventory, no delivery. So what are brokers and agents? Well, these are independently owned entities. They do not take title to goods and they earn commissions or fees. So let me explain. I don't know. So in Iran, when you want to sell a house, how do you do it? My Iranian friends, tell me, if you want to sell a house or your parents want to sell their house, how would they do it? Hello? Somebody from Iran? By agency. So Parzeen, speak and tell us, explain the process you go through. Advertise in some apps, but if you go through the broker, okay, in Hajra, you're in Pakistan, right? Well, so we'll come to Pakistan, but Iran, tell me the process. Farzin?
Hello, doctor.
Yeah, speak.
In Iran, you can go to the agencies and broker, then talk to them to which house you want, and they give you an offer and option.
Okay, so let's say you want to sell your house. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
when
say
I
you want
want
to
to
sell
sell,
your house and I'm the broker or the agent. Do I buy your house and then sell it to somebody?
No, no.
No.
They are
Okay.
no. It's a middleman that they just
Yeah.
find a customer and you can
Exactly.
sell
So
your house.
basically, what happens is I bring you the seller and some buyer together, and the transaction is done, and I get a commission, right?
Yeah,
So that's what we're
exactly.
talking about when we say do not take title to the goods. I am the broker or the agent, and I do not take title to the goods. I do not buy your house and then sell it. I'm just a middleman. I get a commission. You see, but I have my own business. Nobody owns me. Okay, and I earn commissions or fees. So essentially, basically, when you think of brokers and agents, and there's a difference between the two, at least in the US, there's a difference between the two. I mean, broker is basically you become an agent first, and then over time you become a broker by selling a certain number of homes and taking some exams and all these things, and then you have agents working under you. All right. So we have manufacturers, agents. See this S possessive, you represent multiple manufacturers. You have selling agents, and then you have brokers. So let's look at these quickly, and then we'll move forward. Quinton Matthew, you have your hand up. What's up?
My query is, in India, we have different apps for this selling the homes and land estates. So how do we get benefited when
How
products get sold? How does the apps get benefited? The one who made the
how
app.
do the apps benefit? So essentially what happens is they might be charging a fee if the transaction materializes because you're going through that app. Or if they're not charging anything, if the app is popular enough, essentially they make money off of advertisements that are being run on that app. Third, they basically are collecting data of who's coming, who's going, what's being sold, and all these things, and they're selling this data to some other bigger real estate company, making money that way.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? But in India, though, it's interesting. You try to sell something, in certain parts of India, it's very difficult to sell. The local political parties will come in and they want a commission from your sales. So it's quite interesting. Anyways, let's move forward and let's talk about brokers and agents. We talked about independently owned. They do not take title to goods and then they earn commissions or fees. Okay, so that is what we are talking about. Okay, all right. So we have manufacturers, agents. They carry non-competitive but related products. What does it mean? So let's say we're talking about auto products. So for auto products, you have batteries, you have spark plugs, you have fan belts, you have wiper blades, etc., etc. So I might carry batteries for company number one, manufacturer one, fan, this wiper blades, company number two, brake pads, company number three, headlights, company number four, spark plugs, company number five. So I'm carrying non-competitive but related products. These products are related, but they do not compete with each other. Selling agents, on the other hand, usually represent one producer and all product lines, but they can actually represent more producers. That's where competition comes in. Okay, so for selling agents, they will represent producer number one, but all product lines produced by the producer. That's it. And brokers, when you think of them, think of real estate. They do not physically handle the product. Their main job is to bring two parties together, and they represent the seller or the buyer, usually not both. So here in the US, there are a lot of restrictions. There are a lot of restrictions, in terms of, how the brokers can operate. Okay, so you have to, in some states, actually, you cannot represent both the parties. In some states, you can. So, it's a tricky situation. I don't know what the rules are. For example, Nigeria, in India, I don't think in India there are any rules. Anybody can become a broker, and there's no, I guess, supervising agency. I don't know how it is in Bangladesh or China or in Iran, for example. No rules. Yeah, absolutely no rules. Welcome to India. I'm just kidding. So in Nigeria, there are rules for real estate brokers?
I don't know. I don't know much about them.
Okay, what about Bangladesh? Certainly no rules. You cannot be different from India or Pakistan. No rules. No
Yes,
rules at
sir.
all.
No rules.
What about Iran? No rules. No, that's Bangladesh, Sabina. China? No rules in Ghana. Okay, I was going to rules in Canada, so I didn't. So I always think of Sandra as Canadian. So no rules in Ghana. Okay. Politicians have impact, though. Of course, politicians. No rules in Iran. So it's very interesting. I don't know why we have rules. I mean, in the US. Yeah. No rules in Pakistan as well. Good. So we are all brothers and sisters. Let's move forward. Shall we? Yeah.
Sir, hello, sir.
Yeah. Who's
Yeah,
this?
it's Gary.
Daria, go ahead.
Yeah, a little bit confused with the manufacturer agent and selling agents. I don't exactly get the illustration where you were talking about the automobile
Okay. So do you
agent.
get do you see my wonderful handwriting?
Yes, I can see 1, 2, 3, 5
4,
numbers.
5. Good,
Uh,
good. Okay. So let's talk about manufacturers agents. Okay. So I'm a manufacturer's agent, S possessive, which is plural. You get this? In our parts of the world, like in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we say this is apostrophe. So if you put the apostrophe over here, it's one manufacturer's agent. If you put the apostrophe over here, as I have, it's manufacturers, multiple manufacturers agent. So you represent multiple manufacturers, but you carry non-competitive products, but products that are related. So Dare, I represent manufacturer number 1. This is manufacturer number 1. You with me?
yes, sir.
But then I only sell this manufacturer's car batteries, B for battery.
Okay.
I represent manufacturer number 2, but I sell only wiper blades made by this manufacturer, W for wiper blades. I also represent manufacturer number 3, but I sell their spark plugs only for S. So you see, battery for manufacturer 1, wiper blades for manufacturer 2, spark plugs for manufacturer 3. So they are all related products. They all go into cars, but we're not competing. I'm not selling batteries from manufacturer 1, batteries from manufacturer 2. Do you get me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, selling agencies, what happens is I represent manufacturer 3 and I sell not only their spark plugs, I sell their batteries, I sell their brake shoes, I sell their spark plugs, I sell their wiper blades, I sell everything for this manufacturer number 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Questions? Any questions? So we have 3 minutes left. There's no point in moving to the next slide, I guess. Retailing, business activities that involve the sale of goods and services to the final consumer for consumption, ultimate consumption. So now that you know the difference between wholesaling and retailing, when we come back next time, because there's no point in moving forward in 2 minutes, we'll start by looking at classification of retail outlets by form of ownership, by method of operation. This is something we'll discuss on this page and move forward, by price and service orientation, and then by merchandise line. Questions? Wonderful. If you don't have any questions, we are done for the day. So I'll be here for a little bit, office hours. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to leave. But if you ask questions, office hours, I have to see your face. I will not talk to basically a blank wall. Thank you. All right, Dinesh. Thank you, guys. Again, a lot of chat messages. I don't even know how to see them. Maybe I can click on it and see what's happening. Reply. Okay, thanks. Okay, all so thank you. Okay, good.
Hello, sir.
Who's talking?
Sir, this is Anjali here.
Okay, so I need to see you, Anjali. It's office hours. We
Okay,
cannot
sir.
hide like this. This is a synchronous class.
Oh, sir, my camera is on. Can you see
I
me?
cannot. Nope. Where are you? I do see your
Sir,
name,
I have
Anjali
on my
Kakkar,
camera.
but it's not on. Okay, so I'm going to do the recording. I can stop the recording, right? How do I do it?